Nepal is unique. Why is it unique? Because most of these students have got a very strong academic foundation. Today only we had the 10+2 result published, that is the Nepal Education Board, and the result has improved. I think more than 65% have got the excellent scores. So Nepal has got a very solid foundation as an academic, because we have got a lot of government schools which are improving their quality, and also the private schools which are always there as the competitive benefit. So next, the English level of Nepali students are very commendable, because they study from the English medium schools right from their childhood. So that is also one more important thing that generally education and visa demands for studying in the English-speaking country like Australia. And number 3 is the funds that any embassy or the government looks after when actually checking the integrity or the capability of the students to study. Nepal, although the economy is growing, but what we can do is, whatever the documents the student or the parents submit, those are all verifiable. Luckily, after the Australian immigration put some changes in place, we as an education consultant, also the students and parents are aware that every document will be verified, and based on that the integrity check will be done. Fortunately, what we can say is, if the student has got the education loan from A-class bank, we have now the virtual verification tool. Like there are some QR code in some of the loan papers, and sometimes there is the reference number which we can check from our own computer. So that part is sorted, and also the mortgage deed and loan disbursement letter all can be verified. Not only that, if you doubt about the incomes of the parents, that is also now quite verifiable from the tax department, IRD. If you just put the tax clearance certificate number in the IRD website, you can actually see whether that tax is paid or not. So we have improved a lot thanks to the Australian government having the tight ropes in Nepali student visa last year. So this is a lesson for us, and this is the way that we address ourselves, we adapt ourselves.
That has actually increased our GDP as well.
Yeah, of course. I mean, yes, people are now willing to pay the taxes because they want to send their kids abroad. And I mean, especially Australia. I actually sent my daughter herself last year. This year actually. So she has completed her first semester, came back here for holiday, and she's now again back to Australia. So I was even, nervous whether my financiers would be, able to do that or not. But so this is what the Australian perspective of education and the visa integrity is. So we are quite aware, and the students' parents visit right after their high school, the 10th grade, to consult with the education consultant. So that's how they are, nervous and anxious about maintaining the financials. So this is one perspective. And if you look at Nepal as a market, we are the 8% of the total international population in Australia, which is quite high, I think, as compared to the population. And if you see the data of 2023, 370,000 plus students were studying their higher education, 10+2. And if you count all the numbers of university students as well, that was more than 579,000. And if you see the NOC data, Semanta sir is here, who also looks after the Nepalese education consultancies and monitors that from Government of Nepal, Ministry of Education. So 110,000 plus NOCs were issued in 2022-23. So Nepal is a huge market. If we see the next slide, we have significantly contributed to the Nepalese government. That's what I can say. So around 2,500 education consultancies are there spread across Nepal. Average 20 staff per consultancy, that is the employment that we have generated. Average $10,000 US is the fees that they pay, and it's around 40 Arab. So the huge amount, the contribution to the Nepal government, and also the contribution to the Australian government should be recognized in a very good way. That's what I'm trying to explain. And if you see the recent data of the no objection certificate, unfortunately Australia is declining. If you compare the data of 2022 and 23, that was down by 59%. And other countries are actually growing. So what we worry is we always project Australia as a very suitable destination for Nepalese students, but the drop in the number of NOC and eventually the drop in the number of the visa application has projected the serious concern among the counselors, among the students and parents, whether Australia needs the student from Nepal or not. So that's the general concern. If we see the next slide, 2024 is even lower, and we can understand that the migration strategy outlines, taking the number to half, but only 6,621 NOCs are being issued for Australia. That is from January to July 14th. So we are already half there, and then we are pretty low in numbers. So I think that is something that Australian government, DHS should take note of, and then actually make it convenient for the students who are really genuine and willing to study in Australia to be a little flexible and to the favorable decision. So next slide. These are the numbers which we can find from the data.gov.au. So I'm not going in detail, but the number of visa applications are dropping. So if you see in this November 2023, just 815 visas were applied for the higher education sector, and only 13 visa was applied for the VET from offshore. So the number is declining every month. But if you see the 2024 data, we actually can have some of the rays of hope, because the number of higher education applications are growing. 2,063 in January, and eventually, as per the intake, of course. So May 24 was 1,004, and June 24 it was 1,424. The approval rate is increasing, which is really nice. So if you see the data, 93.2% of approval rate, 81.6% in 24. So this is gradually increasing. This is also because the numbers are going down and the quality has gone up, and that's why the number of visa allotment has gone down, but the grant rate has always gone up, as you can see. So this is a positive sign, and it's high time that you consider Nepal as a very good study source country, which Nepal has always been. So if you see the graph, it's very troublesome. It's like the roller coaster ride. If you see the grant number and the lodgement number, it has gone zigzag. So what we want to see is we want to see the sustainable and stable graph, and we are also responsible to guide the students accordingly, and also we expect the same from DHA by setting out the clear guidelines and also helping the students get visa who are really eligible and deserve it. So in the next slide, I've actually calculated the economics. I'm not the student of economics, but students lose around 530,000 Nepali rupees, 5,30,000 rupees if their visa got rejected, thanks to the Australian government's hike in the visa application fee. Now they will be paying 1,46,000 as the visa application fee, which is a bit high, but it's already there. So, and if the visa is refused, they will lose more, 100,000 more. So that the total amount of figure tentatively would be around 5,30,000 if they don't get the visa to Australia. I'm not trying to say anything in this, I'm just trying to present the data so that I have some recommendation to DHA, which can be or cannot be implemented, but this is our long-term suggestion to the DHA to make the market stable and preserve the brand Australia as it has always been. So our recommendations, I'd like to outline it. Ensure proper screening and verification of all visa applications, sometimes which we feel is missing. The generic assessment and not specific detail, paying the attention to detail in the visa application has hampered it. And also the genuine student requirement that has been implemented sometimes gets confusing, because the education provider has got their own GSR criteria while the High Commission has got different one. So if we can just see the similarity, also the unison in that GSR requirement, of course, we'll be more confident to choose the students accordingly. And one more suggestion that we have been always putting it, allow the fees payment after the pre-visa approval, which will save a lot of money from the students, because they have to remit the money to Australia and they have to ask for the refund, where they lose a lot of money and interest as well. Next, reconsider the plan to reduce migration through unfair visa rejection. So if we can actually control right from the source, then we don't have to be harsh enough to reject more visas. And one more thing, very technical one, but we actually recommend the students to be pre-informed for the visa interviews, because sometimes they are not in the convenient position to take the call and give the answers to the High Commission call. So that is one of the recommendations from our side. And the refusal letter has always been the concern from us. Sometimes it's vague and ambiguous. So we actually appreciate the specific reason for refusal. And sometimes if the refusal is not aligned to the migration regulation, allow appeal for the reconsideration in special cases. That's our recommendation. And very technical and mail data, but number 7 is the provide the quickest means of communication for the technical faults arising in the IMI portal for students, because I think there's a different technical team or the outsourced team looking after the IMI portal account. So if you can provide us the dedicated contacts to solve those issues, that would be much appreciated. So these are the facts, figures, our pains, our joy and everything that I have actually put forward in the data. And this will of course be some sort of, the understanding of the Nepalese education in visa perspective. And we have our guest from DHA today. They have to leave at 6:30, but I think I've taken more time. But without any delay now, because addressing these issues will also be somewhat important, and they have got the very important updates for us. We actually met a very wonderful person in March 2024 who looks after all the visa operations now. She is Ms. Catherine, Second Secretary of Immigration. She actually started her term in March, I think, and we met her in Delhi. So that was kind of welcome, meeting. And she will be presenting about the visa and all the stops, the updates as well. Before that, we have Jed Dhoni, who is the counselor in Department of Home Affairs. She's based in Delhi, and we met her in June last year, 2024, in the embassy. So, yeah, this year only, yeah, this year. And she was actually very much attentive to the problems that Nepal is facing and our concerns as well. So your presence in today's event is quite helpful, and thanks for confirming your presence in the last minute. So I'd like to request Ms. Jane Dhoni to put her perspective forward, and after that will be followed by Ms. Catherine. Thank you so much.